Welcome everyone to the Golgari Graveyard, where I go over old, cheap, and janky deck techs that you probably shouldn't use. I am Cass, and today we're jumping into the Commander format with some Jank, because this deck is by no means old. As a matter of fact, most of it is from some recent sets, Dominaria Remastered, Brothers War, and Phyrexia. All will be one. I call this deck Alesha Jank Compleated because it's mostly a cheap pile of Phyrexian creatures that will get you hated off the table surprisingly quickly because they just don't stay dead. It's like their whole deal. Our commander for this deck is going to be very on theme for me as a player, a graveyard-focused girl, Alesha, who smiles at death. She is in Mardu colors, that is white, black, and red, with a pretty small body and first strike. Her second ability, however, pulls our other creatures out of the graveyard and back onto the battlefield as long as they have less than 3 power. You're not allowed to die yet. You thought, get back in there and fight. You thought you were done fighting for me just because you died? What? For what? Get back in there and fight. Actually, if you're anything like me, you probably cried real, actual tears upon seeing Alesha's secret lair art and the accompanying flavor text, which paints her as more of a kind mentor figure who's just helping you up after a little spill. Just look how cute she is. Look at her. I have her right here also. Look at that. It's adorable. This is a true janky deck because before I even bought the singles for this deck, which totaled me like less than $5, I drew my commander. So I'm just gonna get that where you can see it. Yeah, there we go. This is original Doodles by Cass alt art for Alesha, who smiles at death. Alesha herself will likely not be a highly targeted threat on the board, especially in a full pod at Commander Night, but we will have a few cards to protect her anyway, because as you will see, without her, we're mostly running a pile of low-value creatures, and that's not good if you want to win games, I'm told. We have the classic pair of boots to keep Alesha safe from targeted removal, as well as a Priest of Fell Rites to pull her back from the grave, because we don't pay commander tax in this game. That's for chumps. Just send your commander to the graveyard, and then get them back from the graveyard. Your graveyard is like your second hand. Why wouldn't you want your creatures to go there? That's like better anyway, right? We also run Kaya's ghost form in this deck to accomplish the same thing, just bounce her back to the battlefield if she gets removed. Priest is the better option here, however, because having only 2 power, that's right, once we get Alesha onto the battlefield, she can pull back our Priest of Fell Rites again and kind of serve as this endless loop of Alesha's personal zombie bodyguard. We also have some newer cards in this deck, Ashnod's Intervention, Against All Odds, and Vat Emergence. Do you see that little proliferate word at the bottom of that card? Don't even worry about that. That's like for flavor reasons. Just tell your table that you're not even running Infect. Listen, people don't play Infect at Commander Night, alright? That's just like a dick move. We're not going to be doing it. Anyway, next up we have some generically good combat cards that will make your creatures actually hit your opponents in the head, because that's where Alesha wants them to go. She's not, pulling them back from the dead to play checkers. We're here to fight. We're here to make our opponents dislike us, right? Behind the scenes, Agitator Ant, Subterranean Scout, Subira, Tulzidi Caravaner, and Company Commander will all make your creatures unblockable, or at least de-incentivize your opponents from blocking them in the first place. Death Touch is pretty good for trading up in this deck, since most of our creatures are small and bad, but Alesha loves them anyway, and that's why we love her. She's just such a good commander. She's just taking care of her pals. Berserker's Onslaught makes your creatures hit hard, and that's good. That's what you want as a win condition in this game. You don't need any of this like fancy comboing off shit. You don't need like interaction. Just hit hard hit in the face hard, and you win. And game over. Easy. This game's fucking easy. Dredging Claw and Infested Flesh Cutter are both in this deck for the very same reason. You attach it to a creature, and it make the creature hit hard. Good. Ugh. Get 'em. Also, don't worry about the second ability on Flesh Cutter. That's probably not even going to come up. The cool thing about Dredging Claw, though, is it has this neat trick where you get it on the board, right? And then your creatures are going to die in combat because they're small and bad, right? They're not good cards. Then, if you have Claw on the field already, Alesha will animate a different small and bad creature from the graveyard onto the battlefield, and it will be attacking immediately. Now, because of Dredging Claw's ability, the claw will automatically attach to it during the combat phase while it's already attacking and make it into a less small and less bad creature that is harder to block because it has menace. It's a perfect damage engine. This wins you games guaranteed. This is like, win conditions in Commander are bullshit. Just turn sideways, hit them, get them. Then we've got a bunch of these boys for card advantage. Mentor of the Meek has especially good synergy for small and bad creatures. You know, being a white card, that's their specialty. Pause the video if you don't know these already. You just have to draw cards in this format. You know how it is. Vile Entomber can find the good creatures from your library and put them right into your graveyard. That's where Alesha wants them to be. Being in the graveyard is almost as good as being on the battlefield. That's actually where we want our whole library to be, if we could help it, honestly. It's like a second hand. It's like the best strategy in the game. They're like the group of friends from the ritual or the practice where that girl is like, we're the weirdos, sir. That's Alesha. The big payoff for card advantage, though, is Kayla's Reconstruction. You can pay between 4 and 10 mana to draw 7 off of the top of your deck and keep artifacts and creatures as long as they cost 3 mana or less. Because, as I previously stated, all of our creatures are bad and small. A lot of them cost 3 mana or less, so this will hit most of our creatures unless you just completely whiff and draw all mana or something like that, which does happen with Kayla's Reconstruction a lot, so get ready for it. Next up in this deck, we've got Life of the Party. All right, fuck yeah, look at this guy go. Woohoo! But let's get out the beer and the bong and get this guy So he just gets strong if you have a lot of other creatures on the battlefield, and he makes your opponents use their copies of this creature to fight each other, and then they're not fighting you. So that's good. It's probably not a great or synergistic card all around, but he has 0 power in the graveyard, and I mean, just look at this guy. How could you not invite him? What a card, am I right? Oh god. There are 10 removal spells in this deck, including 2 pseudo board wipes, Fell the Mighty and the Mythos of Snapdax. Disenchant and Orum's Thunder are both in here to address artifacts and enchantments that we might just want to snipe away from our opponents. Boros Charm is a versatile burn spell that can also make our entire board indestructible for a turn in case we need that. But honestly, your creatures can die. Alesha seems really fine with that. That doesn't seem like it's a problem. And Pyrrhic Blast even makes you discard a card to burn anything. But yeah, like we said, Alesha can just go get them later. That's fine. There's a lot of creature removal here because our bad and small creatures can't really get blocked at all. That's actually bad for our game plan here, is if our opponents have blockers. So you're going to want to avoid that if at all possible. Some of this removal also has like this funny proliferate or like get a poison counter effect on them, but it's just like for flavor reasons, you know, because I just wanted to make a deck where Alesha got completed. I just thought it would be cute and fun. It's an aesthetic decision. It's fine. For the real game plan of this deck, Alesha wants things to die, and then she wants things to enter the battlefield again. So the rest of our deck is a bunch of creatures with ETB and death triggers. Exhibition Magician ramps you by giving you a treasure token every time it enters the battlefield with Alesha, and Chupacabra will kill something every time it enters the battlefield in the same way. Corpse Knight pings everyone else's life total whenever something enters the battlefield, so ideally you should be getting this trigger at least twice every turn, playing creature during one of your main phases, and then making something enter the battlefield attacking with Alesha. Then there are a bunch of things that make extra goblin or elemental tokens. We have Charforger, Scampering Scorcher, and Mog War Marshal. Mog War Marshal dies as long as you don't pay the echo cost. So as long as you have Corpse Knight out on the field already when he comes into play, you can actually have a very slow churning, slow moving damage engine with Mog War Marshal entering the battlefield, getting damage triggers off of Corpse Knight, and then having Mog War Marshal die and then enter the battlefield the next turn, making another goblin token along with him. You get like slowly more and more goblin tokens and more damage directly to your opponent's life. So that's kind of cool. It's not flashy. It's not going to like win you the game in one turn like a real Aristocrats deck, but fuck the bourgeoisie. Fuck them. We don't play aristocrats on this channel. Falaji Vanguard will make the rest of our boards stronger every time something enters the battlefield, which should be happening every combat with Alesha's ability, and he can pump things up an extra 4 power as long as you also play a creature pre-combat. Boss's Chauffeur gets bigger every time something else enters the battlefield, and then the bigger he gets, the more critters he will make when he eventually dies. Speaking of our things dying, Garna, Blood Fist of Keld, will draw us a card when our little guys die when they are attacking, and ping our opponents just like Corpse Knight if they happen to be on the defensive or if they get targeted by a removal spell. Crucible Goliath lets us sacrifice critters and then churn through our library until we get an even cheaper critter. So as long as you're not sacrificing a creature token with Crucible Goliath, you should be pulling out something from your graveyard at least once, because all of the creatures in this deck list are small and bad and don't have very high mana costs. Sanguinary Priest and Fireblade Artist will all burn our opponents or their creatures whenever our creatures die, which is going to be a lot because our entire board is small and bad, like I said. Thran Vigil will pump all of our creatures up, giving them +1/+1 counter every time something gets resurrected with Alesha. That is pulling something out of the graveyard. That's what we like to do. And Transmogrant Altar will let us sacrifice things to get even more mana and cast more creatures so that we can kill more creatures. Okay, now I'm sounding like an aristocrat deck player. Oh god, oh no. Then we have Martyr for the Cause and Blightbelly Rat, which when they die... Hold on, wait, no. When they die, what the fuck? That's not supposed to be there. What's that? What's that keyword for? I fucking tricked you, idiot! This is a toxic deck. You're gonna be putting poison counters on your opponents every combat. You thought that you were playing Commander with 40 life? All your opponents have 10 life now. That's how this game works. Turn sideways every time. Get wrecked. Let's fucking go. All glory to Phyrexia. For the glory of Phyrexia, all will be one! So anyway, the rest of our deck is like 11 all will be one creatures with toxic, corrupted, or infect abilities that have some sort of evasion or death touch to get around our opponent's boards. Annex Sentry has an ETB trigger that also gets rid of one of our opponent's creatures, so that's going to be helpful if they have a single big blocker that is just stalling the game and holding you up. Because we don't like to play defense, we don't play against white players, we don't block, we turn sideways, we full swing every time, like a real gamer. Go get them. Get their fucking life total. You advance the game through loss of life. You hit your opponent in it. You go get him and hit him in the head. Then we have 3 mana rocks, and the only weird thing in our mana base here is the Seed Core. The Seed Core is going to make it easier for us to cast all of those different multicolor Phyrexian creatures, give us a little bit of mana fixing, as well as pumping up our whole board every turn once we turn Corrupted on for just one of our opponents. I hope you enjoy this deck. I hope you enjoy this video. The deck list is going to be in the description on Archidect. They aren't a sponsor, but I bet they will be soon. I'm sure this will get out and get their attention. I bet they'll email me any day now. If you do try out the deck, though, please let me know. I have it in paper, and it's been pretty fun to play around with. I might even make an upgrade video to this soon. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of these. They're really fun, and I want to keep doing it. So please subscribe. Please, please, please. Thanks for liking, and have a beautiful evening.